Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I wanted to share with you an awesome book that I was sent by the authors, by their publisher actually, and I wanted to share it because it is exactly what we have been looking for as far as overcoming burnout, anxiety, ease chronic pain, find clarity and purpose in less than 1 minute per day. That's what the book says. And when I went through this book, I get a lot of books and I don't talk about most of them. But when I get one that really speaks to me, I love sharing it with you. And this is one of them. And the title of it is The Power of Awe. And so let me tell you a little bit about the authors to begin with, because who writes these things, right? Who are these people? And they are Jake Eagle, and he is a psychotherapist, a mindfulness instructor, and a fellow member trainer of the International Association of NLP. And so the co-author is Michael Amster, MD, and he's a physician and a faculty member of the Touro School of Medicine. And he has 20 years of experience as a pain management specialist, and he is currently the founding director of the Pain Management Department at Santa Cruz Community Health. So we're talking about some very interesting people here that teamed up because they both practice this. And so what is it? So what it is think about awe. We all have experienced awe. And so experiencing awe does not require any demanding discipline. It doesn't require that you have fancy skills or, as they say in the book, quote, awesome settings. The AWE awe method ensures that awe and its many benefits are accessible to you at any time. This is why I said this is what we are looking for. Many of the things that we plan to do or want to do require us to set a lot of time aside, if nothing else. It's not so much that we talk about you needing to have a lot of equipment or go any fancy places. I certainly don't talk about that. But sometimes it's like, it feels like it could be time consuming, or I need to set time aside to do my meditation or my breathing practice or even my Qigong or my yoga. Like all of these things are, what would we call it, on our to-do list, right? But not this kind of practice that these two guys are talking about. This is accessible to you and me at any time, in any place, sitting at a stoplight, cooking a meal, petting our pets, or listening to a loved one's laugh. And now, many times I say we can do our breathing practices, our mindfulness practices while we are out and about. And actually, this is the goal, is to have mindfulness be your way of living. And I think that this awe, the power of awe, can actually be one of the ways that you can get there. So I want to give you, right from the book, what they are calling awe. AWE stands for attention, wait, exhale, and expand. And this is a direct quote from the book. The method is a 5 to 15 second 3-step process, a type of microdosing mindfulness, or a brief informal mindfulness practice that also is supported by science. The AWE method quickly transports us into awe, an incredibly powerful emotion that produces wonderment and heightened states of consciousness, along with some remarkable changes in the mind and body that can improve health and wellness. End of the quote from the book. And so I think you will understand now why I am finding this so interesting, because this is what we need to do throughout our days. This is how we want to be living our lives. And it comes to us eventually very easily when we have practiced it on purpose for a long while. It's kind of like when I first learned Tai Chi. I remember practicing these like beginning opening moves, because it's 108 moves and you learn them bit by bit. And I remember learning them and practicing and learning and practicing. And I remember going back to the instructor at one point and saying, I actually see myself doing these moves throughout my day. And he just lit up like a Christmas tree and he said, yes, that's exactly what it is. Your life becomes these movements. And it's how it is when we are practicing anything kind of mindfulness. We will find that we are doing it throughout our day without even thinking, okay, now I'm going to do mindfulness. It will just come to us. And that's why I was so excited to be going through this book with them. Now, I'm going to put a link to the book in the show notes. And again, it's called The Power of Awe. And I think you might find it interesting if you feel like you are into reading a new book or picking up something new. I know we don't all need a whole bunch of new information. Just hearing me talk about this today, this might be ringing a bell for you as you are now out in your life and even being able to pick up that you are doing awe. And like they said in the preface there that I shared with you, this is backed by science, and I know that's important to a lot of people. I've practiced a lot of things to get through and out the other side of my anxiety that were never approved by science or proven by science. They just were ancient ways of being that worked for thousands of years and that helped many people. There wasn't a lot of, quote, science. But you know what? If the science is going to back these things, awesome. We'll take it. We'll take it. But you don't have to wait for that. If something's working for you, just know that it's working for you. But some of the science here is they did talk a bit about depression and anxiety. And I'll pull out a couple of pieces here for you. One quote from the book here is, although depression and anxiety are mental health issues, they affect us physically as well. Even mild cases of depression and anxiety can alter health and well-being, causing digestive, heart, respiratory, sleep, and thyroid problems. They go on to say current interventions for depression and anxiety include things such as medication, talk therapy, mindfulness, and exercise. And these treatments work for some people some of the time. But the bottom line is that there isn't strong enough evidence to say with any certainty whether what we're currently doing to help the millions of people who suffer from depression and anxiety is adequately addressing the problem. For the most part, the research shows that there's much room for improvement. And that's why if you are on medications, if you are doing talk therapy, if you are doing mindfulness, whatever it is, and you are not getting to the place where you want to be or where you know you can be, the peace and calm that you have known deep in your soul, then there is more to do. There is more to open yourself up to. And that's why I find books like this very, very helpful. So back to the science piece again. The thing that comes up for me when I was even reading that is that we do a lot of things. There's a lot of doing. Even here when I'm talking to you guys week after week, well, try this, let's try that. A lot of times what we really need is to not be doing. We want to just be. And that, to me, is what we are in when we are in awe. We are just being. And it's wonderful the way they describe it here through the book. But here's another quote for them, just so you can see that they are really paying attention to the health issues here and the science of what they are working on. They said that the long-term solution for anxiety has eluded medicine and psychology. It says cognitive behavioral therapy, which is CBT, a treatment model that helps patients change unhelpful thinking patterns and therefore their behaviors, has been shown to reduce general anxiety disorder. But as helpful as therapy can be, it's still a form of striving. We must try to be better by thinking up more appropriate responses to what angers or scares us. All this requires ongoing effort. I hope that you can hear that. I thought that was extremely important. It is very effortful. And the book goes on to say, anti-anxiety medications, which include brand names drugs such as Xanax, Klonopin, Valium, and Ativan, work quickly, but they are not a cure. The medication eventually wears off and the anxiety returns, especially in those who haven't taken other steps to remove sources of anxiety from their lives or learn to deal effectively with those that can't be removed. Further, some drugs used to treat anxiety, such as benzodiazepines, cause dependency, and after consistent, repeated use, the body develops a tolerance to the drug and its impact wanes. To make up for the decreased effect, the inclination is to take more than prescribed. If this happens, anxiety-ridden individuals may then have the added angst of addiction. Further down they say, we have found AWE to be a convenient option to behavioral therapy, even mindfulness-based cognitive behavioral therapy and other therapies, and an important addition to the storehouse of techniques used to address depression and anxiety. That's why I wanted to bring it to you guys. It is another tool. And to me, I just absolutely loved reading the pieces of this book because of that effortlessness, the actual point of just getting into beingness that this little technique that they have can offer. So they say that through their research, they learned that AWE is a remarkable, effective tool that provides relief from depression and anxiety and even accelerates progress in talk therapy. According to some of the study participants, they did a big study, AWE works in part because it targets the source of what ails us, and that is our state of mind, and invites us to see our situations through a new lens. Okay, that's a big one. Seeing our situation through a new lens is exactly what we need to do when we are struggling with a lot of stress and anxiety. It brings us back to acceptance, right? And being able to work with what we have. Working with the cards we've been dealt. We can play these. We didn't ask for these, but we can do it. We can play with these. We don't have to go down. Another piece that I have here, and this is from the chapter called Finding Awe in Times of Strife. They say, anti-anxiety pills, antidepressants, benzodiazepines, and more. Recently, the psychedelics, such as mushrooms and MDMA, have been used to reduce symptoms of all types of anxiety, including existential anxiety. Medications are perhaps necessary, appropriate, and helpful in certain circumstances. In some cases, they are not always a true solution, but a kind of medical bypassing. which is akin to the spiritual bypassing people sometimes use to avoid taking responsibility for problems in life. And there's a lot more around that, but I thought that was important to hear because I see that the handing out of anti-anxiety meds and benzos and antidepressants are not slowing down at all. And so I'm always happy to see that some physicians and therapists are really working at bringing this to our attention so that we can make better choices. They talk about awe. You know the awe that you get when you look in a baby's eyes. I'm trying to think I love being in awe. I watch the sunset. I actually could cry thinking about this because I live in such a place that I can go on my lanai and watch the sunset at night. And I can either watch it, depending on the season, I can watch it go down behind the West Maui Mountains or dip right into the ocean, depending on what season it is and where the sun is right then. And it's awesome. That is the word. You are struck for those moments of being transported out of our littleness and into being a part of something huge, something vast, and we are not alone. Back to the book. They also say in the chapter called Finding Awe in Times of Strife, they say, awe is a partial remedy in that it brings us to the present. And one of the reasons that we aren't present is that we are distracting ourselves because of existential anxiety. Awe disrupts distraction. When we access awe, we experience less anxiety in our lives overall. Feeling less anxious, we have less need to distract ourselves. It becomes a positive feedback loop. That's what we want. The positive feedback loop is the opposite of the adrenaline fear cycle that we are always trying to break, that we are trying to interrupt. And I say we should give a whirl of interrupting it with awe. So it wouldn't be fair of me to let you go without telling you what the awe method was. It's very simple, and so I will share it with you here. And again, if you are interested in this, to take it further, you could look up that book, The Power of Awe, grab it from your library, even your online library, your bookstore, or I'll have a link to it in Amazon in the show notes. The awe method, the AWE method, is first attention, means focusing your full and undivided attention on something you value, appreciate, or find amazing. Look around the room you're in. Find that special, beautiful something that you value and appreciate. Look at it closely. Really look. If it's a small object, pick it up and begin to notice everything about it. If it's a plant, touch the leaves. Notice the texture, color, and smell. And notice the life inside it. If it's a painting, imagine the painter painting it and notice the depth, light, and colors. And then comes wait. Wait means slowing down or pausing. So take a breath. Inhale deeply while you appreciate this cherished item in your home. And the final step, exhale and expand. This amplifies whatever sensations you are experiencing. As you exhale, making a slightly deeper exhalation than normal, allow what you're feeling to fill you and grow. What do you notice? Did you smile? Did you relax? Did you feel a warmth in your belly? Did your vision soften? Your eyes moisten with gratitude for this precious item you are observing? Do you feel a surge or a release of energy? Congratulations, you have just experienced awe. And I think that that is a wonderful way for you to just practice that. It doesn't take anything extra. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to do anything extra. Don't need to carve out any time in your calendar. And it gets me excited because, again, like when I was learning Tai Chi, it just all of a sudden, you practice it on purpose long enough, it becomes a part of your life. Being in the present moment and actually taking it all in. I hope that today's show was helpful for you. I think it's exciting to learn what other people are working on, what they're thinking about, writing about, and being able to get all of these things dropped in my lap is pretty awesome itself. I am amazed at how wonderful the world is with all of these books that are coming out, and people are working on all kinds of projects. And like I said, I've been trying to go through them now and put together ones that I think you really need to hear about. And this was top of the list because it just sings to me. It reminds me of what brings me joy and peace and presence. What brings me to the present moment in life is awe. And now I'm going to practice it even further by paying attention to my breath when I am in one of those situations where I am in awe, or bring myself there on purpose. Again, I hope this show was helpful, and I so appreciate you listening, and I don't know if I say that to you enough. The email I get from you is awesome, and actually sometimes can bring me to tears, you sharing such beautiful personal things with me and your gratitude for the show. It makes me feel like we got to just keep right on going. So again, if you appreciate the show, maybe you could share it with somebody else, or you could subscribe in whatever player you're using. That helps us stay top of mind on all of the apps. And beyond that, just know that I appreciate you, and everybody here at ACP is saying a big mahalo to you. And now for today's quote. People often say that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, but I say that the most liberating thing about beauty is realizing that you are the beholder. And that's from Salma Hayek. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.